Hello everybody, this is Havoc. Welcome to another Warhammer video. With Warhammer less than a week away, I thought I would do a cool little countdown. I've never done one of these before, so I thought it would be an interesting new little video to put up here. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give the top 5 things that I am most looking forward to for Total War Warhammer. Now we're going to start with the, I won't say the least most expected things looking for, I guess that makes sense, the bottom, and we'll go end with the most important things that I think. So we're going to start from the beginning. I want to go with siege mechanics as number 5. Now, I want to make a clarification. Sieges are something different than the siege mechanics. Seeing the battles that we've seen with the sieges, I am obviously slightly concerned in terms of it may get a little redundant. With the complaint is that these cities aren't big enough, they're not complicated enough, which they kind of made pros and cons for, obviously, but the siege mechanics themselves are more interesting. For instance, a tighter deployment field. We saw that with one of the vampire count videos. Instead of being so far back, especially with the leveled up city, you're going to be right in the crosshairs as soon as you hit start battle. One thing about sieges is they can be really drawn out and really long and really slow. So I think adding this thing, having your deployment field in a much smaller field of view, will definitely help move the pace of the siege battle to where you're going to have to move fast in order to take the city effectively. And so I think that's a good thing. I think that's a positive thing to really go after. And I think it will really help make sieges more battles and more intense, and make you reconsider whether or not you really want to actually siege them. The other thing, you have wide walls and you have wide avenues in the city. In Total War Attila especially, I think in even the widest cities, you can only fit, maybe a dozen people wide. That's really frustrating for combat reasons, etc., etc. I just think that having those wide avenues and having walls wide enough for an entire unit to fit on sideways is going to help create a much more dynamic siege battle. I think it'd be really cool, and there's lots of things that you can do with it. And again, they're trying to make sieges more epic. They're trying to make them better than just, oh, you try and take the wall, oh, then you go down, oh, and then you try to take the city. It's much more than that, both offensively and defensively. And I think that'll be a good thing. The next biggest thing in the siege mechanics is that towers will not shoot internally. That was one of the biggest things that I absolutely, to this day, hate about Attila. And I think it was even in Rome too, was you have to destroy the tower in order for them to stop shooting at you. It makes it very OP for a defender. If a defender can hold a wall, then there's really no chance for the attacker to do it. So I think forcing you to attack early as an attacker in a siege will really help, and it encourages you to do so, because as soon as you hit those walls, the towers won't attack you. I think that's a really smart move on CA's part. I think it will really help siege battles not be so frustrating, because they are infuriating for me and Attila. And then last but not least, magic in cities. That was part, I think, I don't know if it was the live stream. No, it was one of the videos, one of the magic videos, actually, that Total War released a few days ago. Obviously, a lot of the magic spells in Total War Warhammer will have an area of effect damage, and there's even one spell that they shot out that ricochets off walls. That's really cool. And I think using magic in the cities is going to be very crucial, and it will make or break a battle. You can get those wide avenues, allow for a lot of close-up action, and also allows for a lot of plugging, so you can plug a couple of units and then use your spell and destroy the enemy. I think that aspect will also help make sieges a lot better. So again, not necessarily sieges themselves something I'm looking forward to, rather it is siege mechanics. Alright guys, well, number 4, regional occupation. Now I know this has been a big stickler for a lot of people, but I really think that having regional occupation, I've always been for it. I've never been against it. I'm not going to lie, and this is why. having regional occupation, well, in previous Total War games, obviously you could paint the map your color, which is fun. I mean, that's been the Total War thing to do, but I think with regional occupation, it just creates a more dynamic gameplay. You have to think on whether or not it's worth taking a territory if you can't keep it. Now, obviously, you won't take it, you'll raise it, but does that affect your strategy? You know, as the Huns, obviously you can't settle, which you can now because of mod, but anyways, so you're always raising. That's the same thing as painting the color or the map a color of your faction. So I think with having regional occupation, you will have to have a more dynamic, you'll have to have a more strategic campaign in order to succeed. Also, it's in keeping with the setting of the old world in Warhammer. I mean, obviously, humans are not going to occupy a dwarf stronghold underground. It just doesn't make sense. Vampires won't either. Humans don't really like being that far north in the wastelands, and they're not going to go that far south in the Badlands. It just makes sense that you can only reasonably occupy certain spaces. I just think it just makes sense. It's in keeping with the setting. Now, the mod obviously will allow you to do anything you want, but I really think those two things are the biggest things about regional occupation that I like. I think it just will create a better campaign. It'll create campaigns we've never seen before. I'll put it that way. You have to be more strategic. You know, as the Empire, sure, you could be at war with the dwarves, but do you really want to go after them? Because you're not going to be able to do anything with those. You know, the dwarves may not attack you. I don't know if dwarves can take big old cities or not. I don't know. I guess we'll see once Warhammer comes out. But I think regional occupation has always been a good thing, and I am very excited to see how it plays out in my campaigns. Number 3, we have corruption. Corruption is a new thing for them. I think it's really, really, really cool. It's the idea that as the vampires or the chaos, you can infect lands with corruption. Now, vampire corruption and chaos corruption are two entirely different types of corruption, but they have the same effects. It allows you to be diplomatic without, I guess, aggressive without being militaristic, we could say that. So the idea is that if a non-vampiric or non-chaotic faction has too much corruption in the region, it will create a rebel faction, a rebel army that is vampiric in nature or chaotic in nature, and that will help weaken the area. So as in the Chaos little quick campaign video that they released, it was the idea that Kislev is very strong military-wise, but you use your chaos corruption, you use your hero to spread chaos. That chaos corruption creates a rebel army. That army is able to weaken Kislev. Therefore, you could then go in and take out Kislev. It's a way to be diplomatic and aggressive with your military might without actually putting boots on the ground. I think that's really cool, and I like it a whole lot. And again, it creates that dynamic gameplay. You can, if you want, just go in and trounce everyone and spread your corruption that way. But I will also mention this, like the vampires, if you go into a land that's not corrupted with your army, you're going to face attrition. So it's in your advantage as the vampires, as chaos, to spread this corruption. It's not forced upon you, but it very much creates a better and easier campaign for you to do so. And I think that's very important, and I'm glad that they put that aspect into there. Alright, number 4, well, I guess I've been doing these backwards. This is technically number 2. Whatever, we'll just roll with it. The number 2 thing that I'm looking forward to is magic. Magic, I'm looking forward to it, and I think it will be the most frustrating part of this game. It's one of the most things I'm excited about, and, you know, because we've never had to experience anything like this before. It adds an entirely new set of functions, of another aspect of microing that we haven't experienced in Total War before, and I personally don't know how well I'm going to handle it. I'm going to spend a lot of time, and I honestly will probably throw a video or two focusing on magic itself once I get it down. But I just think it's a cool way to do it. There's certain things that can help you have more magic, there's certain things that could debuff your magic, etc., etc. You're throwing so many variables, not even to mention the different kinds of spells and the different kinds of heroes and legendary lords that can use certain spells, and it just creates an epic campaign. Warhammer, I feel, will be so much more epic on a scale that we haven't seen before, simply because they have such a depth, a lore, a fantasy setting, that it just creates this epic setting. We've seen the world of Total War so many times. It's always the same continents, it's always the same terrains, it's always the same, but Warhammer is something completely different. It takes Total War out of its comfort zone and throws it into an entirely different world, and I think that will make it absolutely amazing. So Magic is number 2 on this list of 5 that I'm looking forward to, and number 1, the different races. I think this is really cool. Obviously, they're not going to not put different races in there, but I think in Total War, you're always a human. You know, this has been said countless times. You're always human factions. Human factions, regardless of race, religion, location, anything like that, it all boils down to one thing: conquer the entire map, subjugate all of the other humans, or take them off the face of the earth. While that's not a bad thing, I have loved Total War since Shogun came out. I've been a lifelong fan of the series. I think having these different races will create such an immersive and different campaign than anyone has ever played before. You know, we have the Third Age mod, you have Call of Warhammer mods and stuff, and those are really cool, and I've seen lots of videos on them, but I don't think they will compare to how Total War Warhammer is going to handle these different races. So I think just being able to create all of these different campaigns, I know people are kind of bummed that there's only 5 factions to start out with, but I think you're going to have such different experiences because they are completely different races, each with their own characteristics, each with their own legendary lords, and each with their own pros and cons, that it's just not going to be, oh, this is Western humans, oh, we're playing as Eastern humans, oh, now we're playing as Africans or Nords. You are having such completely different styles of gameplay that I think it'll really create something absolutely amazing. Alright guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this top 5 reasons why I'm excited for Warhammer. I'm not sure what I'm going to title this. If you're listening this far in, I don't want to do top 5 things Havoc likes of Warhammer. That's a little too long, but I'll get it figured out. But I really wanted to give this kind of sense and anticipation. We have less than a week before Total War Warhammer comes out, and it just makes me excited. I've been waiting for this since it was announced. I mean, this is almost going on a year now, so my insides are just all burning up. So, as I've always said, I will do 3 campaigns as I see it right now, and be on the lookout for those. Be on the lookout. There will be a lot more content coming out. I'm going to try and see if there's some unique things that I can do, things that other Total War players haven't done, something that will make it unique to my channel. So I'm going to brainstorm on that quite a bit in the week leading up to Warhammer, and then you'll hopefully be able to see some really cool stuff once it releases. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching. Follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. Be on the lookout for any more Warhammer content coming up before the release, and then of course stick around for when Warhammer actually releases. This is Havoc, guys, and I am out of here. Peace!